some years ago. So I have at least a shallow acquaintance with what major statements about architecture have to say.
It's possible that your interest is not so shallow as you modestly put it. We'll see. We'll see. You know, there is a saying that in the end, the poets are always right. And I believe it's true. In the short run of things, it seems that the scientist knows it best. But in the long run, the poet takes his or her revenge. And I think yes, we need the poets, and we need the people who are occupying themselves with poetry. And I'm very glad that it is actually beautiful, your presence here. I'm very grateful that this happened, because I will begin actually with literature. Because today we'll talk about the Taj Mahal, which was born out of a great love that the Mughal emperor had for his wife. But at the same time, I will talk about Charles Eames, who was born today, a very important architect and designer in the United States, and who had a beautiful relationship with his wife, Ray Eames. So in a way, today's gathering or meeting, digital as it is, or virtual, is about architecture and love, or architecture and design and love. So I will begin my presentation, if you allow me to, with some quotations about love by great writers, because I think some of the thoughts are very provocative and actually even very beautiful. In 1 minute I will start. I didn't forget to start the recording, so it will be recorded, and I hope that I will be inspired enough to not provoke distress in you, because I am spontaneous, but it's not really my nature. I try to be spontaneous, but you know, it's like someone who is introverted and tries to be extroverted and might not succeed sometimes. Anyway, so we have some interesting people here. Yesterday we talked about India to an extent, and I would be very happy if you'll attend again, if you can, on Sunday, when we will try to talk, to discuss, and to participate creatively to the important event of the summer solstice, because on Sunday it will be the summer solstice, and we cannot be indifferent to the movement, the apparent movement of the sun on the sky, and also to the fact that it will be the longest day and the shortest night. And so I invite all of you to do anything, a drawing, a sketch, a scattered thought, a poem, a project if you want, if you're an architect, anything that celebrates light, fire, even the spiral. I learned that the spiral is a symbol associated with the solstice. So I will begin. I will begin now by showing you the. I have to click on share screen, and we'll read together some thoughts on love, because today's day is not Valentine's Day, but it is about two great love stories, one in India and one in the United States. So let me see. Okay, we have share screen. Share screen, and now I have to. I hope I can do it well. Just a second. I have to find now the PowerPoint presentation. Where? Aha! On love and. Do you see On Love and Passion?
Mm-hmm. Starts with Dostoevsky. Yeah.
Okay, you see it now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I will read, because I have this list with some thoughts from great thinkers and writers about what love is. And the Taj Mahal was born from love, of course, and also the works of Charles and Ray Eames were also born from a beautiful collaboration between Charles and Ray. So if I'm not getting carried away here by lyrical thoughts. I think in a way the theme of our meeting today, as I said, is architecture and love, or love and architecture. So a few thoughts. Dostoevsky, what is hell? I maintain that it is the suffering of being unable to love. Something worth thinking about. Then Mozart, neither a lofty degree of intelligence, nor imagination, nor both together go to the making of genius. Love, 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 that is the soul of genius. Interesting understanding that Mozart had. Then Shakespeare, love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind. Then Omar Khayyam, it's too bad if a heart lacks fire and is deprived of the light of a heart ablaze. This day, the day on which you are without passionate love, is the most wanted or wasted, is the most wasted day of your life. Or Lord Tennyson, it is better to have laughed and lost than never to have laughed at all. True. Love is a fire, but whether it is going to warm your hearth or burn down your house, you can never tell. True, equally true. Then Rainer Maria Rilke, perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act just once with beauty and courage. Perhaps everything that frightens us is, in its deepest sense, essence, something helpless that wants our love. An interesting thought. Then Lord Byron, his quotations are exceptional. Love without passion is dreary. Passion without love is horrific. Mahatma Gandhi, where there is love, there is life. Oscar Wilde, the very essence of romance is uncertainty. Pedro Calderón de la Barca, when love is not madness, it is not love. Great. Edgar Allan Poe, we laughed with a love that was more than love. Nice again. Every heart sings a song incomplete until another heart whispers back. Those who wish to sing always find a song. At the touch of a lover, everyone becomes a poet. Plato. Robert Frost, love is an irresistible desire to be irresistibly desired. Bertrand Russell, of all forms of caution, caution in love is perhaps the most fatal to true happiness. And I would say it's the same about creativity. If you are too cautious in creativity, doesn't matter in what field, poetry or architecture, you fail. You have to abandon caution. Excessive caution is not good. Paulo Coelho, I don't know if I pronounce well his name, Coelho. Love is an untamed force. When we try to control it, it destroys us. When we try to imprison it, it enslaves us. When we try to understand it, it leaves us feeling lost and confused. Albert Einstein, any man who can drive safely while kissing a pretty girl is simply not giving the kiss the attention it deserves. A nice, playful thought from a great physicist. Khalil Gibran, if you love somebody, let them go. For if they return, they were always yours. And if they don't, they never were. Victor Hugo, what is love? I have met in the streets a very poor young man who was in love. His hat was old, his coat worn, the water passed through his shoes, and the stars through his soul. Beautiful. The stars passed through his soul at the same time that the water was passing through his shoes. Charles Dickens, I loved her against reason, against promise, against peace, against hope, against happiness, against all discouragement that could be. Charles Bukowski, with a few words, find what you love and let it kill you. Ernest Hemingway, this is beautiful by Hemingway. Maybe you'll fall in love with me all over again. Hell, I said, I love you enough now. What do you want to do? Ruin me? Yes, I want to ruin you. Good, I said. That's what I want to. Blaise Pascal, the heart that has its reasons, which reason knows not. E.F. Cummings, trust your heart. If the seas catch fire, live by love through the stars, though the stars walk backwards. Gabriel Garcia Marquez, nothing in this world was more difficult than love. Rumi, this is love, to fly towards a secret sky, to cause 100 veils to fall each moment. First to let go of life, finally to take a step without feet, as often love is. Andy Warhol, people should fall in love with their eyes closed. Friedrich Nietzsche, one ought to hold on to one's heart, for if one lets it go, one soon loses control of the head too. So again, Nietzsche says something very important. The heart should come first and not the head. Rumi, goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes, because for those who love with heart and soul, there is no such thing as separation. Milan Kundera, he suddenly recalled from Plato's Symposium, people were hermaphrodites until God split them in two. And now all the halves wander the world over seeking one another. Love is the hanging of the half of ourselves we have lost, is longing for the half of ourselves we have lost. Goethe, if I love you, what happiness, what business is it of yours? You must forgive me, sometimes I don't read so well. The letters are a little small for my eyeglasses, which are not obtained through a prescription. Okay, Julio Cortázar, come sleep with me. We won't make love. Love will make us. Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations, accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do you do so with all your heart. Shakespeare again, love is heavy and light, bright and dark, hot and cold, sick and healthy, asleep and awake. It's everything except what it is. Somerset said, Mom, he did not care if she was heartless, vicious and vulgar, stupid and grasping. He loved her. He would rather have misery with one than happiness with the other. E.F. Cummings again, unless you love someone, nothing else makes sense. True. And yet, to say the truth, reason and love keep little company together nowadays. Dostoevsky, a very interesting thought. To love someone means to see them as God intended them. Again, the Brazilian writer, the strongest love is the love that can demonstrate its fragility. And Rilke again, for one human being to love another human being, that is perhaps the most difficult task that has been given to us, the ultimate, the final problem and proof, the work for which all other work is merely preparation. Bertrand Russell, I will end soon. To fear love is to fear life, and those who fear life are already 3 parts dead. Rilke again, believe in a love that is being stored up for you like an inheritance, and have faith that in this love there is a strength and a blessing so large that you can travel as far as you wish without having to step outside of it. So the great tragedy of life is not that men perish, but that they cease to love. Sophocles, one word frees us of all the weight and pain of life. That word is love. Blake, William Blake, if a thing lives, it is if a thing loves. Okay.
Jim, I'm involved in a Zoom session right now. Can I call you back later?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Beautiful music. Thank you. If a thing loves, it is infinite. Shelley, from his beautiful little poem called Love's Philosophy, the sunlight claps the earth and the moonbeams kiss the sea. What are all these kissing worth if you kiss not me? When I am with you, we stay out all night. When you are not here, I can go to sleep. Praise God for those 2 insomnias and the difference between them. Rumi. Then Rochefoucauld, absence diminishes small loves and increases great ones as the wind blows out the candle and fans the bonfire. D.H. Lawrence, for my part, I prefer my heart to be broken. It is so lovely, down kaleidoscopic within the crack. Shakespeare, the course of true love never did run smooth. Oscar Wilde, the heart was made to be broken. Albert Camus, there is scarcely any passion without struggle. And the last one by Alexander Pope, what reason weaves by passion is undone. Sorry, it was the list was a little long, but I just couldn't renounce to any of them. So now we'll go to the Taj Mahal because that building was indeed born from love and from a great passion, and the emperor and his architects worked for 20 years to erect one of the most celebrated and beautiful buildings in the world, and that's not a little thing. Okay, let's hope this will work smoothly.
I paused to get rid of a phone call and I have lost the picture. I'm not sure why.
You don't see the screen?
I see the names Priya Daniel, Azar Jamali, and Jan Andreescu. And I see my own picture, and I see a D, which is you, but no picture. Then I see a photo, I see the announcement of the lecture. But
well, what about the others? Do you see the PowerPoint presentation or not?
I did, but when I got rid of the phone call, it went away, and I don't know how to get it back. Let me see if I can.
Sure, we'll wait. I don't know what happened. I mean, maybe I could. What about the others? Do you see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, we see. Yes.
Okay, so
I will log off and log back on and see what happens.
Okay, we'll wait for you.
So
Thank you.
Excuse me for a moment. Yeah.
Please. What a surprise! We have this is a great university in the United States, Northwestern University.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You hear me? Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm there. I just can't see your PowerPoint anymore, although I was following it before. Let me see what's going on with this. I can't get it to go full size. I can't get it to.
Did you try to log off?
All right, I'm going to go out and try again.
Please, we'll wait for you.
Okay.
Okay, so
right.
I will talk about the Taj Mahal now in some detail. I'm emotional because
all I'm getting is the letter D on a big square in the middle.
Hi, Paul. Could you try to swipe right or swipe left? I think if you're on a mobile phone.
What is it? What should I swipe?
Just swipe the screen right and left, because I can do it. I mean, when I see Dan's presentation, it's the screen, like swipe right.
Yeah.
Does that work?
I don't have a screen sensitive laptop, so.
Oh, I see. Okay. Are you on the desktop?
Attendee screen share. Post disabled attendee screen sharing, it says. Hang on, I'm trying to solve this right now. All right, I'm going to leave and come back because this is a mess.
All right.
Do you have a so-called smartphone or a desktop, a laptop?
Alo? Da, nu e foarte important. Am văzut chestia aia cu firmele.
So you do see now the title, the Taj Mahal, right?
Da, să vede. Să
Okay.
vede.
Okay.
Okay, now we're in business, I think.
Now there is another conversation
Seeing
going
all
on.
of the Taj Mahal, and I also see squares for the other participants.
Okay, so you do see now the page with the Taj Mahal.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I'll begin. So it was built by this very interested in architecture Mughal emperor in the 17th century, the Shah Jahan, for his wife when she died. And apparently they worked, he worked together with the architects for about 20 years to erect in this building that still is one of the most celebrated architectural achievements in the world. It is pure, it is complex, there is geometry, but there is also ornamental design of great gentleness and discretion. It is indeed a building born out of love. And I think this shouldn't be forgotten, that it transcends death, actually. It is in the power of human beings animated by love to go beyond the great loss which death brings upon us. But through creativity, I think we have a tool of, you know, if I can call it, the word is a little harsh, revenge. It's a creative revenge that human beings have. And here we have the emperor and his wife. She gave the name, of course, to the mausoleum, Mahal. And now, of course, these images are probably painted, you know, at various times, maybe after her death and even his death. But it doesn't matter, because this is about paradigmatic, in a way, love that we could all identify with to an extent, if we are lucky. What is beautiful about this building is that it is able to unite what Boileau was calling for when he said l'esprit de géométrie and l'esprit de finesse, the geometrical spirit and the fine spirit, or which in this case is realized through a delicate ornamentation that doesn't conflict with the geometry, the rigorous geometry of the building. They sustain each other. So it's a building, if I am to use, you know, alchemical terms, it is a conjunctio oppositorum. It is a conjunction of opposites. The masculine principle, hello? The masculine principle of geometry and the feminine principle of delicate ornamentation. And they both sustain each other in beautiful ways. From afar, you do not see these details, but they are important because they bring grace to a building which otherwise would have been maybe too geometrical or too simplistic, but it's not at all. We don't use ornaments these days, but I think that's a great loss. Of course, there was a legitimate negative reaction to ornamentation and decoration in modernity at the beginning of the 20th century, because it was a reaction to the eclecticism of the 19th century. But I think now we live at a different time, 100 years later in the 21st century. And I think to bring gentleness to our buildings through forms that have been used for thousands of years might not be futile, or, and it's actually, I would say, necessary. the scale, as you can see, is impressive. I mean, if you contemplate the size of the human beings, you realize that this is not a small building.
Are the inscriptions in Persian?
To be honest with you, I don't know.
That was the
No, they are in Arabic from
they're
the
Arabic.
Quran.
Oh, okay. So this was a Muslim?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
So, okay. That's interesting to me. Because what I've seen of Muslim architecture is less invested in ornament than Indo-Persian stuff, though I know much less about that than Western things. So that's important to know, I think. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, here you see some information about various parts of the building. Sometimes when the informations overwhelm us, we lose the, we lose those emotions which are so important when we face a work of art. But they are necessary also, the information. So if we can keep a balance between that initial emotion, unadorned or uninfluenced by information, and also not ignore the information, which has its own importance. But you see, calligraphy, decoration, ornaments, they are very important to this building. And the schools of architecture today, most of them ignore ornaments. And I think sooner or later, the art of ornamentation will come back. But there is a risk, yes, and against this, the first moderns fought that, maybe there is a difference between decoration and ornamentation. But an ornamentation that works in tandem with the spirit of the building is a positive thing, I think. And it's not without significance that the father of modernism, or one of them in the United States and the world, Louis Sullivan, who is considered the father of the skeletal, office building, the office tower, the Cartesian structure. He was also the creator of an unbelievable ornamentation. And the duality of Louis Sullivan is also incredible and worth mentioning and studying. The very same man who brought modernity in its Cartesian forms into the architecture of the 19th century was also the creator of an almost funambulesque form of ornamentation. And it can be seen in Chicago in various places.
We have a lot of Sullivan, and there's a beautifully made ornamental gate that used to be at the old Chicago Stock Exchange on display outside the Art Institute of Chicago, which would illustrate exactly what you're saying.
Yes, I'm very impressed by the complexity of Louis Sullivan.
He said form follows function, but he didn't say that form was function. He didn't. It was about subordination, not the interchangeability of those things, as I understand it.
Now, and unfortunately, this wording of Louis Sullivan was misinterpreted by many, because actually form and function should come together. And there is a book written now. It was published some years ago with the title "The Function of Ornament." So ornament has itself a function. But when we think of function, we think only of the prosaic matters, but we forget that there is a function even of the most ineffable things. Anyway, the Taj Mahal exterior. Yes, we saw the drawing with the informations. I mean, the image with the informations. I am moved by the. I mean, can we imagine the these people worked. They were probably animated by some of the affection that the emperor had. Was more than affection, was love, pure and simple. But to transmit this love into the building through so many hands, because this building was not erected by a single man, not at all. It was a moment of grace. I mean, if we can call 20 years a moment, and we can't. But this building is still a testimony to the power of love, and it moves today as it moved almost 400 years ago. And there is a difference between the building in the foreground and the Taj Mahal, and it's a difference in quality, and it's almost, you know, this building in the foreground is a preparation, it's almost like a pedestal for a sculpture. Brancusi, he thought of, you know, how do you do the right pedestal for a sculpture? It cannot compete with a sculpture, but at the same time, it's a little more than the prose of the floor or the flooring. So it's some kind of a transition towards the, you know, the sublime, if I'm allowed an exalted word, of the sculpture. I mean, look at the intricacies of just this detail. You know, it's perfect from a geometrical point of view. It is fluid. It is ornamental. It's also structural. It sustains itself. It's very, very nice, and it's an important theoretician of architecture and great historian of modern architecture, Kenneth Fenton, talked about the adoration of the joint. Here you have adoration in the whole building. We could use this word often, adoration. This is where actually the body of the princess, of the wife of the emperor, resides. I mean, you know, these people were incredible. I mean, they didn't have computers, but they must have been incredible geometers. They use mathematics so well, because these surfaces are curved and they are complex, and they complicated matters even more because of the, you know, so-called stalactites and stalagmites, of the transition between the verticality of the wall and the domed upper part of the building. Great builders, but they were poets themselves. You must be a poet in order to build like this. You cannot just be an, you know, maybe you know this, and it's a favorite short story of mine. And a very important French poet, Paul Valéry, wrote a little book called Eupalinos ou l'architecte, Eupalinos or the architect. And in that book, he asked the question, it is asked the question, what is the architect? Who is the architect? And the answer was that there are three builders. One who puts a stone above another stone, and this is a builder. Then the second one who puts a stone above another stone and makes them talk, narrate, speak. And this is a master builder. And the third one is the one who puts a stone above another stone and makes them sing. And his name is Eupalinos ou l'architecte, Eupalinos or the architect. So indeed, this is the task. If this doesn't sound too, you know, old-fashioned to say it, you put a stone above another stone and make them sing. But such exalted language is not ours any longer today. I don't think there are too many schools of architecture or architects who think in these terms, to make the stone sing. I truly believe we need the poets badly in architecture and in our lives. And even an avant-garde film director like Jean-Luc Godard thought in the same way. We need the poets. They might even defeat the pandemic. We need the poets badly. And unfortunately, many poets in this world are, many die of hunger. They are unknown. They are in the gutter of life. Too bad. A white marble dome is 35 meters high, but seems taller, sitting on a 7-meter high drum like the minarets, and I can pronounce. Unfortunately, it stopped with a lotus design, bronze final, replacing the original gold finial. Anyway, there are many subtleties here. I probably don't do justice to this building as it deserves, but this is I just incite you and myself to further contemplate one of the architectural wonders of the world. And you see, now of course there is a picture, with a couple embracing each other. It's very possible that this building does have this effect on people, that maybe without effort you feel like being in love because the building was born from love. Details of the Pietra Dura work. Again, this is a love work. That's what it is. I mean, who do such a thing without love? I don't think it's possible. You cannot rush it. You cannot be without care. You have to have love. So the building, just like the dome of Brunelleschi in Florence, is double shelled. And but here probably for different structural reasons, I don't know. The plane, look at the thickness of the walls, or if I can call them walls. It's almost there are excavations within 4 large-scale cubes. So it's the art of subtraction and addition. They are present simultaneously, the two arts, somehow. Now, of course, it helped that it was an emperor here who built this. And when you have an emperor on your side, or you build for an emperor, well, it depends on the emperor, of course. Anyway. I wonder what this emperor felt and thought when he engaged himself for such a work for 20 years. This is the triumph of human imagination and human sensitivity. It is the and talent and craftsmanship and vision. It is, yes, it shows what we can do when we are inspired and when we are generous. Some older drawings. So it's not just the building itself, but the whole complex, the gardens, the sequence of, I mean, it's almost like a ritualistic approach towards the building. This
What does
building would not have,
Charbagh mean?
pardon?
What does Charbagh mean?
I don't know.
Char Bagh means it's 4 gardens. Bagh is garden, and char is 4.
Okay.
So
Just want to bring up another point. I think it's, I mean, the building is completely symmetrical and everything, right from the landscape to the minarets and everything. But the only part that is apparently not symmetrical is the dome or the actual tomb. So that's just an interesting fact about the Taj Mahal that I've read earlier.
So in what sense is not symmetrical, the dome?
Not the dome, the tomb, the tomb, the
The
actual
tomb.
grave.
Yeah.
The tomb, yeah, the grave where his wife is buried.
Why do you think it is so?
I don't know. It's just it's part of the facts of, I mean, the symmetry of the Taj Mahal. So I'm not sure why. Maybe it was just something that he planned to be special and different.
Oh, it says that the symmetrical plan and the crossing rivers are the 4 quarters and 4 rivers of the paradise in Quran. And
Right.
the tomb is out of axis because the place under the axis is for God, for Allah. It's only him, it's
I see.
perfect. So the empress was merely a mortal, so she was slightly displaced.
Very, very interesting and
That's good
a
to
very
know.
legitimate explanation. Thank
So
you.
it is not only the love for the empress, it is the love for God also, which is
Right.
expressed in this monument.
You know, I just finished working with a reading group for the whole Divine Comedy of Dante. And there, you know, he sort of starts with his love for Beatrice, who sends help down to rescue him from his confused, sinful state. And at the end of the Paradiso, he can't see Beatrice anymore. His love for her is still there, but it's part of the love of God at that point, and he's been brought to that. So we go from earthly love of, wow, she's wonderful, I want to be with her, to I love the divine creation of which she is an example. And the whole poem ends with Dante being finally attuned to the love that moves the sun and other stars, is the last line of the poem. So I sense a similar kind of merging of secular earthly love, eros, with something like what the Greeks called agape, a kind of spiritual love. So the earthly love is a kind of an education in love of the spirit and of the divine, and they become part of each other.
Very beautiful, and it makes me think of what Dostoevsky said, if you remember, when I read at the beginning, that when you love someone, you see that someone as God intended him or her to be. So you cannot separate in true real life. You cannot separate the secular from the divine, the terrestrial from the celestial, and there is a differentiation exemplified in this building by the positioning, which I didn't know of, but we found out today, the positioning of the tomb. So there is a differentiation, but at the same time, there is a collaboration, if I can say so, some kind of merging between the terrestrial and the celestial. And we have here, we are Romanians, the Infinite Column by Brancusi, which a critic from Austria actually described as being a ring of conjunction between the earth and the sky. And maybe the best works of human beings are like this, some kind of meeting intersections or meeting grounds for for the simultaneity of the terrestrial and the celestial, of the profane and the sacred. And but we don't think any longer in today's architecture. We don't think in these terms. And I keep asking the architects I interact with, why is it that the architect today doesn't sign his drawings, his plans with those three initials that Johann Sebastian Bach used when he signed his musical compositions, and also the great film director from Sweden, Ingmar Bergman, Soli Deo Gloria, to God alone the glory, with the three letters, S, D, G. We don't do that. And without that, I mean, it doesn't really matter if we sign the drawings or not. The idea is to not to forget the divine part of life, the celestial one. If we are too concerned with the terrestrial, we fail, I think, in a way, our mission, if I can use this word. But the Shah didn't fail it, and nor his builders, the architects. It is in a way building a mausoleum for his wife was a way to build a building for God. It is through the terrestrial love that we arrive at the celestial love, just like you mentioned about Dante and Beatrice. It's a great building, and it's maybe we can talk some other day also about this subject, because it's a subject we cannot exhaust easily, and we shouldn't exhaust it actually. I like this picture.
Watching your presentation, I thought a lot about the great cathedrals of Europe and ways in which they were and were not like this building, and also about Ruskin's famous essay on the rudeness of Gothic architecture. And what strikes me in Ruskin's analysis of it is he said that yes, there was someone in charge of the whole design, but it was organic and the whole community contributed to it. The craftsmen who did the details were not told what to do. They were left to their own ingenuity. So there was a kind of macro vision of the whole building, but the decoration and the details were largely left to the invention of the stonecutters who did the gargoyles and the statuary and so on. And the stained glass was done by the people who did that. Now, they're less unified than this building. The relationship of ornament to overall structure is different. They use the same arch form for support. You know, they discovered that too, that if you wanted to build something that would stand up with medieval technology, that was what you had to do. But I would love to hear architects among you say more about that at some point, but go on, I'm sorry.
No, you shouldn't be sorry, because it's very pertinent, your intervention. We actually, we had a meeting in which I presented Chartres Cathedral, and it's a subject that interests me a lot, the Gothic and the cathedrals. And there was an Indian art critic and theoretician of art, Kumaraswamy, who actually taught in Boston, and he said that the Gothic art, the Middle Ages in Europe, when they erected these cathedrals, those cathedrals reminded him of constructions, collective constructions erected in India. And it was the last time actually when this happened, because with the event of Renaissance, the collective manifestation of faith exemplified so well in the cathedrals began to deteriorate, because the human being became more and more underlined in importance. So it was something very beautiful in the Middle Ages in Europe, because those cathedrals which are magnificent, and they were magnificent and still are magnificent, they were built by, most of the time, by anonymous people. And because I mentioned Ingmar Bergman, pardon?
Exactly.
Does someone want to say something? I wanted to mention Bergman because Bergman was very fond, I mean, very impressed by the anonymity of those creators. They actually lived in order to erect the cathedral. They were great artists, but they were also, as it was mentioned, people who were not artists or craftsmen. Chartres Cathedral was rebuilt in 25 years by a little town, of 25,000 people, but everybody contributed. Everybody contributed to the cathedral. So it was a collective aspiration towards God. And I think John Ruskin was right, that some of the freedom that these people who contributed to the building had is manifested in the variety. And what's beautiful is that you didn't need actually a very skillful, great artist to do a sculpture that is, or a detail of the building that is contributing to the great architectonic symphony. So it was faith that united all these people, and somehow even those maybe less talented or less skillful contributed themselves with their own parts with grace. And they didn't have, so I mean, they had a band of traveling specialists, the guild, the master builders, but they worked together with a non-specialist. And I wonder, and I think we should talk again about the professional and the amateur, because in contemporary times and in modern times, the amateur became more and more almost persiflated and reduced. I mean, the word itself is a pejorative word, but it comes from love. The word amateur comes from love, from the Latin word for love, and to love. And that was forgotten many times. The professional doesn't have love. Many times the professional is a cold-blooded specialist who is very efficient, who does the work so-called perfectly, but without the presence of affection, of emotivity, of emotion. So maybe we could reconsider the word and what it stands for. And by the way of this, there is a very important little architecture office in China, which is called Amateur Architecture. But the founder actually received the Pritzker Prize, so he was he is very appreciated. Wang Shu, a very important architect, who gave the name of his office Amateur Architecture. Very, very nice. Anyway, I mean, here we cannot say that this building was built by, but no, they were professionals, but also amateurs, in the sense that they were animated by affection, by love. This is a great picture. I mean, I hope it's the last picture. Yes, it is the last picture. Now I want to show you, if you allow me to, because I also like to step in, to bring modernity into this. I will show you a presentation which is called Architectural Requiem. It's about commemorative structures built by important architects today, because I think it's important to also know what the present has to offer. And I will show some very important works built at the end of the 20th century and at the beginning of the 21st century. So I will begin now. It's called, no, it's not here. I know where it is, just a second. Go to computer, removal and Requiem. Okay, it's this one. Okay, Now, the language is Romanian, and I ask for forgiveness because we have some guests who are not Romanian, but they understand. It's almost like in English. Architectural Requiem. Architecture between memory and perishability. And I come back to Bergman because, and talking about creation, because he was a incredible film director, but also extremely interested. No, the word interested is not correct. In an interview, Bergman was asked, "What about God?" And I saw that video and I couldn't believe my eyes. It's not so much what he said with words, but his body became contorted. There was a great tension in his body, showing that the question touched something very deeply within him. And this is shown actually in his works. And look what he says about creation. People ask what are my intentions with my films, my aims. It is a difficult and dangerous question, and I usually give an evasive answer. I try to tell the truth about the human condition, the truth as I see it. This answer seems to satisfy everyone, but it is not quite correct. I prefer to describe what I would like my aim to be. There is an old story of how the Cathedral of Chartres was struck by lightning and burned to the ground. Then thousands of people came from all points of the compass, like a giant procession of ants, and together they began to rebuild the cathedral on its old site. They worked until the building was completed. Master builders, artists, laborers, clowns, noblemen, priests, burghers. But they all remained anonymous, and no one knows to this day who built the Cathedral of Chartres. Regardless of my own beliefs and my own doubts, which are unimportant in this connection, it is my opinion that art lost its basic creative drive the moment it was separated from worship. And in this, he expresses it almost in identical wording what the great French sculptor Auguste Rodin said. It severed an umbilical cord and now lives its own sterile life, generating and degenerating itself. In former days, the artist remained unknown and his work was to the glory of God. He lived and died without being more or less important than other artisans. Eternal values, immortality, and so-called masterpiece were terms not applicable in his case. The ability to create was a gift. In such a world flourished invulnerable assurance and natural humility. Today, the individual has become the highest form and the greatest bane of artistic creation. The smallest wound or pain of the ego is examined under a microscope as if it were of eternal importance. The artist considers his isolation, his subjectivity, his individualism almost holy. Thus, we finally gather in one large pen where we stand and bleat about our loneliness without listening to each other and without realizing that we are smothering each other to death. The individualists stare into each other's eyes and yet deny the existence of each other. We work in circles so limited by our own anxieties that we can no longer distinguish between the true and the false, between the gangster's whim and the purest ideal. Thus, if I am asked what I would like the general purpose of my films to be, I would reply that I want to be one of the artists in the cathedral on the Great Plain. I want to make a dragon's head, an angel, a devil, or perhaps a saint out of stone. It doesn't matter which, it is the sense of satisfaction that counts. Regardless of whether I believe or not, whether I am a Christian or not, I would play my parts in the collective building of the cathedral. I'm not so sure about this. I think he tried to soften a little bit the intensity of his involvement with faith. I think he wanted to have faith and he had some difficulties to have it. And if you allow me, I can recommend you, he has 3 films where he deals with with the questions about God. And one of them is Winter Light, which is very nice, which is about a priest who coughs a lot during his preaching because he actually didn't quite believe in what he was saying. I wish more priests would do that. Anyway, here I showed, but I don't have it here, a fragment of his great film, The Seventh Seal. I move forward. This is about something else. Now I show quickly some images of grief. I prepared this material. Of course, here we do not have the Taj Mahal, but I prepared this. Pardon?
Could we talk a little bit about what Bergman said? It's quite a lot.
With great pleasure, if you want to. Yes, I believe what he said is
start
very
it off.
important.
I want to hear what other people said. I'm struck by two things.
Please.
My country, to my sorrow, is being governed by a gangster's whims right now, and it's horrible. And you know, that really struck a chord. The other thing is this: whether I believe or not, I would play a part in the collective building of the cathedral. This resonates with what the great poets of the first half and middle of the 20th century in English were saying. So you have Wallace Stevens thinking of, you know, chanting devotion not to, not a god, but as a god might be. The sun, not as a god, but as a god might be. T.S. Eliot's turning to high church Anglicanism and converting in the middle of his career to Christianity. So this kind of intense sense of loss of these faiths, but a recognition that you can't persuade yourself to believe something because you think it would be good for you and for your culture to believe it. You have to actually believe it. So there are all these kinds of elaborate fence dancing games. And it's a very poignant thing. I think Frank Kermode spoke of modernism as the language of lost order, and the nostalgia for that order, and the desire to be enclosed by such an order, and a recognition that we've lost it. So that, for what it's worth.
Does anyone else want to say something about this? Because I think in this text, Bergman raises some very important issues.
Well, Saint Gregory Palamas, a great Greek theologian, said that God manifests itself to the uncreated energy, the cosmic energy. So everyone who feels inspired, it's penetrated by this kind of energy. And if you don't get it, well, the surest way to don't get this energy is to be preoccupied by his own whims and with his own self-centered preoccupation. So if you are like that, like most of the modern artists, you don't get this energy.
Well said.
You know, Bergman in a different text said, the artists today are like little ants that transport the skin of the dead snake, the dead snake being God. And because of their movement, the snake appears to be alive, but it is not. It's just the carcass, it's just the skin transported by myriad of little ants, the modern artists.
Mm.
But these little ants, you'll see later on in this presentation, did do some works that are in their own way, they do have some significance. And I think the involvement with, you know, I use this word, but maybe it's a little bit too predictable, the divine, maybe they themselves, that was Aldo Rossi or was Carlos Carpa or Enric Miralles, this individual, these little ants they tried also through their own work, without having on their side an emperor, without having 20 years to build what was built the Taj Mahal, still they have suggestions of a possible path. Yes, much more individualistic, because this is the time we live in. Anyway, we'll go on, because there is a lot of material, but maybe we can continue another day to talk about this, because I think it's an important, yes, a very important, and maybe this pandemic, this social distancing we are forced into, paradoxically, create some kind of chance for us to know each other better, to dialogue, to maybe to discover a side of ourselves and our lives that we neglected for too long. Anyway, these are just images of is a compendium, a constellation of you know, some so-called you know, commemorative structures from various times. Once we go through this, we'll arrive in more detail of some important works. It only shows the power. I mean, in the truth is, in contemporary times and in modern times, we kind of expelled death and the preoccupation of death with death from our interests. In fact, Bergman, to come back to him, he said, not a single day I spend without thinking about death. And this is not morbidity. I read that a screenplay writer like Cesare Zavattini said, if I had the power, I would have told people every single day that one day they will die. And this not in order to increase, you know, a sense of despair, quite the opposite, to appreciate every moment, to enjoy the world, which is rich, and it deserves to be enjoyed, and not frivolously. I also think, and this is one of my, I hope it doesn't become an obsession, but I think a big problem is that we expelled vita contemplativa from our lives. So we have vita activa, which we honor with all our forces, and now we are despairing because the pandemic is forcing us to be less active, but we neglected for so long vita contemplativa, and you need a balance between the two. Imhotep, the first architect in history, as he was called, the step pyramid of Saqqara. This is Toyo Ito. Now we arrive at a great modern work, is a cemetery and crematorium in Stockholm by a very important Swedish architect, Gunnar Asplund. It's a good work. It's a good work. It is a modern work, but it tells the truth. It tells the truth of his time. It tells the truth of his faith. But I see beauty here, and I see seriousness. Yes, it is not the Taj Mahal, but I think there are spiritual values in this work, in its austerity and apparent rationalism. And if you travel to Stockholm, if you didn't see it, I suggest you visit it. It's an important architectural, I could almost say, achievement. Too bad Asplund died kind of young, but he was a brilliant architect. So these buildings are their function is to officiate, if I can say so, or serve things related to death. But
that angel above the entrance,
yes,
An angel of death figure, or what are we looking at there?
I don't know.
It's too small.
It's a guiding angel, you know, who guides the
Okay,
soul of the deceased
that makes sense. Okay,
through the gates of the dead. Hmm?
that makes sense. Thank you.
The golden angel.
Hmm. That elliptical room is for memorial services then?
Pardon?
Mhm.
I didn't hear.
The elliptical room a few slides back looks like it's intended for memorial services.
Yes.
Yeah, very beautiful.
The elliptical room, it's inside the small structure, you know.
Yes.
Mhm. Yes. I can't tell whether it's circular or elliptical because of the foreshortening, but
Maybe it's circular, but
the symbolism would be apt if it were.
if it was circular or elliptical.
Mm-hmm.
It's circular.
Makes sense.
Well, this is about a circle. It's seen from a side. It looks like an ellipse.
Right, that's what I was saying. The foreshortening makes it.
It's a very small space, actually, but it looks very monumental.
Mm-hmm.
The columns don't look circular either. See,
She's right.
they are elliptical at the bottom and at the top. They're elliptical, and then, yeah.
But there is also in Ljubljana, in Slovenia, that hallucinating cemetery by Jože Plešnik, the monumental cemetery with similar chapels. It has been done more or less in the same period, in the 30s, 20s, 30s, something.
A great architect himself.
Yes.
And by the way of angels, he has an office building not far away from St. Stephen Cathedrals in the center of Vienna, where he hanged an archangel on the facade of an office building.
He was actually a mystic, and he lived his own house in Ljubljana. It's like, you know, an Etruscan tomb. He entombed himself in his living quarters, you know. He was a great mystic, a great deeply believer.
Yes, a very interesting man. I have a presentation on him, but maybe
Well,
another day.
we wait with great interest.
Okay. So you see these architects, these little ants that transport the skin of the dead, the snake, still try their best to, you know, to enliven a little bit the skin of the snake. Now, Aldo Rossi with the Modena Cemetery is a very different architectural work, but important too in its own way. And also the graphic works that he produced are also significant, I think. Here is the architect. He died in a car accident. So he worked for this difficult task to you know, to address the afterlife, what we call death, in through an architecture that has some meaning. So different from the Taj Mahal, it's different even from the buildings that we saw by Gunnar Asplund. But I would still say that I discovered yesterday some photographs. A photographer photographed this cemetery by Aldo Rossi and under the name Domus Eterna, which I also use, and I used wrongly, I think, in Latin. I'm not sure because I don't know Latin, but maybe Eterna should come in front of Domus. But this photographer used it the same way I used it. It's very austere.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that strikes a certain amount of fear into this viewer.
Yes.
Like, you know, death is carceral. It's like a prison in some ways. You know, it's stark. It's, you go inside these thick walls and these geometrical patterns enclose you, and makes you meditate on the fear of death, I suppose. Not emotionally neutral, that's for sure.
It's kind of oppressive. I have seen that several times because I travel frequently in Italy. Yes, well, it gives you, you know, the chills when you see it. That is the centerpiece because it has also some very long, infinite galleries, which are also repetitive and very geometric. It's a strange vision about the afterlife.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, he used the same vision to build also housing and other structures. So that was his language, so to speak, architectural language.
Yes, it's very similar with his dwellings in Berlin, by the way.
Well, if the plague ever ends, I'll have to do some traveling and see some of these things.
Yes, he has done in the center of Berlin some dwellings which are very similar with this one. I wouldn't feel comfortable in such a flat.
No, me neither. By the way, Mies van der Rohe lived in a brownstone. He did not live in one of his buildings in Chicago.
Also, Mies van der Rohe had on his walls very delicate artworks by Paul Klee, who was a poet among painters,
Wonderful,
and his vision of art was so very different from his. But this says something about Mies, that he had another side, you know, and his early works were done in brick in Germany, some works. So he was not, he became the, you know, the refined, you know, high profit of, you know, some sort of an international style, Cartesian, sublime architecture, believing, but he was, I actually think, and it might sound a little bit adventurous, that Mies was kind of a mystic himself.
Yes, it was, and he was obsessed with Saint Thomas Aquinas, and he frequently cited from Saint Thomas Aquinas about the transparency, about the capacity to see God through a minimum of things and stuff like that, you know. And he was a lifelong friend with the famous German architect Schwarz, who has produced some very mystic architecture in the 30s and 50s in Germany. And he was a lifelong friend with a great mystic theologian, German, which had an Italian name, Romano Guardini. You know, that is the unknown part of Mies van der Rohe's life.
A friend of mine once said, if you scratch the surface of a rationalist, you'll find a mystic.
Yes, I think it is so. Wow, it's a beautiful photograph.
Yes, it is a nice photograph, yes. Well, the buildings in Berlin by Rossi also use primary colors. So the severity of the geometry is saved in part by the colors. Now, Carlos Scarpa, this is a great architectural work by a very important Italian architect. He is also buried himself there, and I read, and I don't know if it's true, and maybe some of you will know better than me. I actually read that he's buried vertically somewhere in the walls of, but I still don't believe I read this, but I read this. There is a horizontal, inscription somewhere in the cemetery, but apparently he's not buried there anyway.
No, he is buried exactly in the public cemetery at the very limit between the public cemetery and the Brion cemetery, you know, because the Brion cemetery, it's
for a family.
Yes, it's for a family, but it's near the public cemetery of this small town and so on. And
yeah, but I read that he was, I don't know, maybe it was,
his grave is exactly on the other side of the fence, you know, in the public cemetery, but near this one. I don't know if he has been buried vertically, but in Italy, in the Catholic Italy, I shouldn't think it would have been allowed. I don't know for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, he could have been eccentric. It doesn't matter. Let's look at the work.
Yes, he was eccentric and very alcoholic, which is very strange for an Italian.
But maybe this explains how he died, because I read 3 versions of his death. One that he fell from the terrace of a 7th-floor building in Japan. Another that he fell on the stair descending from a plane on the airport in Japan. It happened in Japan. And another one that he fell in a building, inside the building, again on the stair. But I'm tempted, especially learning that he was an alcoholic. I didn't know this.
He was a heavy drinker, yes.
Like Alvarado.
Yes, but for an Italian, it's not very common, you know.
No, that's true, because they integrate wine into meals very early. So the children in America, ooh, I'm going to be 21, now I can get drunk as a skunk, but they don't do that in Italy or France.
No.
Yeah.
They have that culture of the wine and stuff, but being drunk, it's not a positive recommendation, you know.
Yeah.
So I visited this. It's a private cemetery. It's just built for this family, the Brion family. But it is a very accomplished and moving architectural work. Is not afraid to, to have concrete, get this patina because of the elements. It's not
That's
afraid.
where you enter.
Pardon?
You enter there where you're showing?
I'm sorry.
The entrance? That's great. Like you're going into some kind of subterranean or underworldly space when you walk into that.
Yes, you see that one in the right corner. It's the public cemetery.
Yes.
And his tomb, it's right where this axis of access. It's near the point of the entrance in the Brion compound. It's a very small, very common gravestone. Nothing unusual. But because this was a very rich family, and he actually, apparently, he wanted to be buried somehow inside his work, and they didn't allow it.
As I said, I read that he's actually buried vertically.
Why? Maybe yes. Who knows?
Exactly. Who knows?
I don't know. But it's nice. Like the Italian says, "Si non è vero è ben trovato." If it's not true, it's very well said. So for them, it's the same thing. It's a beautiful place.
Now you see, architecture does employ sometimes, ornaments, because these are ornaments, but why is it that architecture today, and I think so obviously in the schools of architecture in Romania, totally neglect ornament? To where we am in Bucharest, no one, even the word is not pronounced, it's not used. And it is incredible because you cannot have structure without ornament. And in that very school, in the basement, there are beautiful stones with detail, ornamental how to say now in English, I don't know how to say it in English, ornaments that are totally neglected. In one of my lectures, I projected images of those very stones on the screen, and there were 200 students there, and I asked them, do you know what they are? And no one knew until 3 minutes later, a student with a timid voice said, aren't they the stones in the bed? But why did they take, why was it necessary for these minutes to pass? Because the culture, the architectonic culture in education is so obsessed with structure. The word structure appears on every single theme for a project, but not ornament, not at all. And I think it's a great loss. Because yes, the ornament is capricious, it's in a way the irresponsible gesture, but is needed. We saw it at Taj Mahal, and we see it here. Many of the things that delight us in this cemetery are their function is obscure. I mean, what would this building be without all these sophisticated, so-called non-functional details? Yes, it is a great work. It's one of the most important works in architectural works in the second half of the 20th century in architecture. Yes, and it deserves, and I don't have that knowledge, but I should have it because many things in this cemetery are full of symbolism and meaning.
Yes, that is the memorial chapel. Well, in some of my works, I have used ornament, but I didn't create it myself, and I addressed some fellow artists, to do it for me. And yes, because I believe they could do that better, and it was a very satisfactory relation. I'm trying now the same thing with somebody producing a stained glass in the religious building, a huge stained glass. It's nice to do that with, we have been formatted like you said, and if you feel like, having this kind of thing, I like to address an artist and give him space, a lot of space to do that.
Yes,
that's what Ruskin said happened in the construction of the Western cathedrals. It's not the single author of the whole thing as a kind of monument to the heroic architect, but a more collective project. So you're ceding some of your control to someone you trust to realize the detail in a way that you would be satisfied with.
It makes it look much more richer because other voices are going in this choir,
It's too bad I don't have here in this presentation the Bauhaus Manifesto by Walter Gropius, because the Bauhaus is known as some kind of art movement that was, you know, kind of showing the path towards, you know, almost standardization, industrialization, modern aesthetics, even minimalism. But initially, and it's shown so explicitly in that manifesto by Gropius, it was a mystical movement. The last word of the short manifesto that Gropius wrote is faith, and the word heaven appears twice. And he talks exactly about this, that the architects and the builders and, well, the sculptor and the painter should work together for the erection of what was supposed to be the, well, in the woodcut by Lionel Feininger.
Yeah, the cathedral of the future.
Exactly. Modern of the future. It was actually described or named the Cathedral of Socialism, strangely. But a very interesting point that Gropius makes in that manifesto is that both the artist and the craftsman, they are both craftsmen. The only difference between the craftsman and the artist is that the artist, as Gropius put it, is an exalted craftsman. So exaltation makes the difference. They are both rooted in craft. They are both craftsmen, but the artist is exalted. And this is another regret I have, that the schools of architecture don't use the word exaltation at all, because exaltation is not a rational word, is a dangerous word. It invites towards some kind of intoxication, of getting drunk without drinking. But without that so-called getting drunk, could we arrive at that state of architectonic poetry? Or because maybe Diderot, who was not really a poet but an encyclopedist, was right when he said poetry requires something enormous, barbaric, and wild. And for that, you need intoxication. You need the intoxication of emotions. You need the intoxication of exaltation. And I think that this spiritualization of life led to this state in which I mean, it's a big discussion we could fall into now, but I think it's important to talk about these things, because even Einstein, who was a scientist, he said, well, we have the, now maybe I should not venture now to quote from him without knowing precisely what he said. I know what he meant, that we have a primal intelligence, the instinctual side of us, the intuitions, but we built a society that values the servant, meaning reason, meaning the mind, meaning the brain. Even the word in English, brainstorming, but it is not actually the brain that storms, but it is the heart. And both Frank Lloyd Wright and Le Corbusier say the same thing. And they are very different architects, and I imagine they didn't like each other, but they both said the same thing. The heart comes first, and then reason, then the brain. And Einstein said the very same thing. But we forgot this because we are rationalists. We are children of the Enlightenment, so-called Enlightenment. So of course we don't talk about heaven, about faith, and about exaltation. But without some form of even a quiet, discrete, I am expressing myself oxymoronically, discrete exaltation. It is an oxymoron. Anyway, this is a great work by this Italian eccentric architect, who actually was not allowed to teach architecture at the University of Architecture in Venice. He was teaching in so-called interior design or interior architecture, because he didn't have the
diploma, yes.
Right. And he was the greatest Italian architect of his time.
Yes, he started by designing glassware for the Venini and Marazzi firms in Murano. I have seen a magnificent exhibition of his glasswork. So he started as a glass designer.
Yes. So it's not the Taj Mahal, but it's still worthy of our attention and our affection too. I mean, even here you see little details, you know, like here above the entrance, and these inverted ziggurats, and it's a very rich work. And it's created, yes, we agreed upon this, by a little ant that transports the skin of the dead snake. Now these are the tombs. The couple of this Brian family, Brion family. We trivialize death, really, because I think if we revalue death, not in morbid terms, but in terms of actually enhancing life, is again, it has to do with contemplation, with vita contemplativa, which we relegated to non-existence. But I think if we address again, as ancient cultures did, with seriousness and sensitivity, we trivialize that. I mean, you turn on the TV, what do you see? Shootings, killings, rapings, a lot of aggressivity, but paradoxically, we are actually left insensitive to the importance, the gravity of what death is, exactly because it's too present somehow, because of the scandals on the media. Even now, you turn on any channel, media channel on the internet, the first news are about the scandals, which have to do with death, but devoided of the seriousness and sensitivity that the subject requires.
Well, I think sometimes we are jarred into an awareness of the seriousness. The video of the policeman suffocating George Floyd, you watch that and you emerge with a sense of grief and outrage and how very precious and fragile human life is. So, I mean, I think part of the problem is we all die in hospitals now. We don't die at home the way people did in the 19th century and earlier. There used to be a whole kind of ritual. All of the relatives and friends would assemble at the deathbed and wait for the dying person's last words and read that as perhaps a hope of being saved rather than damned, kind of religious importance placed on the last words. Now, you know, you get sick, they take you to the ICU, and, you know, a few days later, that's it, but nobody was there. It's out of sight and out of mind. That's a problem. When it's thrown into our faces that it's real.
Yes, and you don't get into a sarcophagus and in the celebrated tomb, but in a plastic bag and stuff like that, you know.
There is a little, and actually I have it here, I can show it to you, a very short film by Akira Kurosawa, a beautiful short film that is very worthy of being seen. The village of the windmills, and there you can see, and that's why I wanted to present this, you know, this PowerPoint presentation, because I think it's important. I think if we reinvest the afterlife with the sensitivity and the seriousness and even the creativity that it deserves, this will have a positive effect on life. And that's what that little film does. And I don't know if the people who are still present here at this presentation would like to see that film. I have it. It's about 10 minutes long, and it's very beautiful, by a great film director, Akira Kurosawa. Do you want to see it?
If that's we're coming up on 2 hours and I'm beginning to lose my ability to concentrate, as perhaps others are beginning to. or not, but
Yeah, it's possible.
I'm going to have to.
And I apologize.
No, it's been very rich experience. Don't apologize for anything.
No, I do have to apologize because I usually, generate long talks, but okay, shall I should restrain myself with addition.
Yeah, well, that should learn us
right.
that everything has an end somehow, and that makes everything more meaningful.
Okay, so should I continue this or we just end?
Yes, no, you should
Okay.
finish this beautiful presentation.
So it's a different kind of richness than the one we witnessed at the Taj Mahal, but through its own means, I think is, to a good extent, not less significant and important. And this symbol of the two circles, that they are ellipses or circles, is maybe not so important, that intertwine or embrace. He uses this in other parts of the building, and it's, in a way, it's about the same thing. It's about uniting the opposites, uniting through love two different beings and two principles in abstract terms. It's not just about two. You could even talk like in the case of Chartres Cathedral, which has two towers, the moon tower and the sun tower. So you have this duality. And I remember that Goethe apparently was searching in the Black Forest for the Ur plant, the plant that had a two-ness, to use a strange wording by Peter Eisenman, meaning a duality, two parts. That this duality is also present in some details in Scarpa's work in this particular building. You see, there again, the two circles that unite in the center, in the Vesica. What a difference between the building belonging to the public cemetery and the building belonging to the private cemetery. Now, another great little cemetery by two very important Spanish architects, well, Catalans. Unfortunately, Eric Miralles died young, but this cemetery, I think, is a very important architectural work. This is the part of the plan, the site plan. It shows a different attitude towards death, a more, I don't know how to describe it. It's a different sensitivity, it's a different architect, well, two architects, but it's an excellent work. It is a creation, and it is a serious and sensitive creation. It is not mimicking anything. Look at the plan, the larger site plan. It's almost like a human being there, the silhouette of a human being projected on the ground. It's abstracted, it's fragmented, it's some kind of a deconstruction, but it shows it is a meditation on the gravity of death, but it's not for me, it is not a depressing gravity, quite the opposite. It makes me realize that in a way we are born in order to die, and that, as somebody said, maybe a great point, that death is another way through which nature enhances life and renews life. Maybe it was Frank Lloyd Wright who said this, I'm not sure. Yes, apparently there is, in this fragmentation and this disorientation, a sense of loss and of getting lost, but there is more to it. This also reminds me of a courtyard, if I can call it so, at the Jewish Museum by Daniel Lipskind in Berlin. I don't know if it's not the Paul Celan courtyard. It's so very different from Aldo Rossi and so very different from Carlos Scarpa. Yes, there is death. Yes, there is sadness. But there is, because of creativity, genuine creativity, the genuine creativity actually conquers sadness. It's not a triumphalist cemetery, if I can use these words. No, it's almost a proletarian work. It is a peripherical work. It shows death at its periphery. It is the periphery of life. I hear some noises, some strange noises.
Not from here.
Do you hear them too, or is just me who hears them?
I heard them, but I'm just saying this.
No, maybe somebody lost patience or something.
Well, or something's going on near where that person is. That's, you know, like, you know.
I mean, look at this idea to gather stones together and just you know, keep them in place by this primitive steel frame, iron frame, is, but it tells the truth. Actually, it's not an idealized form of truth as expressed in the Taj Mahal. It is a meditation on the gravity and sadness of death, but being a creative work, I think it transcends sadness. At least for me, this is what I feel. This is the architect, and he died. He died, I think, of brain tumor at 40 or 45. I actually saw him lecturing in New York at Storefront for Art and Architecture, and a very interesting architect, a very good architect, actually. Here he is with his second wife, but the cemetery he did with his first wife. Anyway, with Carmen Pinos, a very important Spanish architect herself.
Well, I'm going to have to, with regret, leave the meeting, but I wanted to thank all of you. I've learned a great deal, seen images of things I had not seen or known about, and gotten a very different perspective. You know, I have some contact with people in France and Britain, but not much with Eastern Europe, and that's another perspective, and I'm getting some of that too. So I'm grateful to everybody, and I would come back to another session if invited. So thank you all very much, and I'm going to have to leave now, but it was great.
Okay, thank you. And you know, I'm not sure I know your email address. You received some message.
Oh, I'll answer your email and give it to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay. So anyway, this is what Miralles did. Miralles. I'm not sure I pronounce well his name in Catalan. Now there was a great poet born actually in Romania that we don't know of too much, Paul Celan, or Paul Celan, Paul Celan, who was considered by many in the vicinity of Goethe, Rilke, and Hölderlin, if you can believe it. And his poetry is very, it's kind of like this cemetery, you know, it appears to be depressing. It is gray, so to speak, but it's a very good poetry. And here I think is a good architectural work, although it could make one a little uncomfortable because it's not what one would like to see. I still think it's a good architectural work, and it is very creative at all levels. I mean, look here, you know, this is not so much about beauty in a conventional sense. It's about, it's a meditation that gets rid of prettiness and tells the truth as the architect saw it or felt it. Now, I don't know, very quickly I could show you because now there are only architects probably here. There was a competition in 2013, Architectura Funerară, the contemporary funeral architecture, with some very interesting projects. And I could send this PowerPoint presentation to any of you gladly. So you can, if you want, you can study some of these projects.
I have sent you on your email my mail address in order to get invited to these very interesting gatherings.
Thank you, perfect. So very quickly, just for the eye at this point, to see some of these projects, because the competition was very interesting. This is a project from Austria. I'm not going to read this text, but you'll see some images. It's a long text. So this was meant like a competition to find ideas about you know, what to do with a disease in a big metropolis, in a big city. I also think it is my belief that the schools of architecture in Romania cannot avoid for too long any longer to address such problems also. You know, I know what is happening in Bucharest. There is no temă de proiectare for, you know, for a church, for a chapel, for a commemorative park. Not at all. We only do hotels of 4 stars with, you know, 4-star hotels or, you know, but we neglect a part of life which was in fact almost the essence of architecture for thousands of years and many centuries. And to me, this is almost unexplainable. I understand that you know, the church in Romania is a difficult beneficiary, to say the least, but we shouldn't follow the requirements. We should invite the students to reflect on what death means and the afterlife, and what is a cemetery, what is a church, what is a chapel, what is even atheism. At AA in London, there was I saw a diploma work by a student, an atheistic city. So the spiritual side of life, even with a minus sign in front of it, as atheism was addressed. But it's better to address even that than to be indifferent and not address as if we don't have a spiritual life. It's impossible. I mean, I think a dramatic change is required. This is my belief. Now, a project from the States. I'm not reading the text because it's late, but it's another, you know, kind of a mausoleum or you know, a building that is to function for you know, for the deceased, just like the Taj Mahal is, but this is for you know, the 21st century. Although the cowboys and I imagine they are cowboys, they seem to be, you know, almost atemporal. And now he placed it in a different context in the middle. It almost looks like Piazza Uniri in Bucharest a little bit. Anyway, this is the project. New ritual objects. I don't know about this. Anyway, Skylight from Columbia project. I chose some of them. I don't know if I was very inspired when I chose them. There were many projects there, maybe some of them. But I only show the variety of the positioning of the architects or the students addressing this subject in the language of today. This is a project from China. The eternal recurrence of life is symbolized by a ring structure which rises from underground to above ground. It represents the life cycle of the disease. Movement along the ring is an experience of contemplation and memorialization. Another project from China. It is amazing to me that China, which was a communist country even more than us, actually, I mean, we all know New China, what they build and how experimental they are. And look, they even so-called find time to address such themes, contemplation, death, funerals. In other words, I think they embrace the new and the freedom of the new with much more courage than we did. And I think it has to do also with education. I think that if we assume the spiritual side of life in the educational system in our country, would be a great thing. A vertical cemetery, an interesting idea. In a vertical structure, a project from Switzerland, dramatic and sculptural. One from the United States. What I appreciate about this project is, as the rector of the University of Applied Arts in Vienna said, education should not be the slave of so-called reality. Reality doesn't make us, we make reality. In other words, education is the engine that carries, that moves forward the carriage called reality or life. In other words, education should be at the forefront. And I think this is not done sufficiently at least in Romania. It's a big problem, I think, because I've heard someone important in Bucharest saying, we prepare for the marketplace. Noi pregătim pentru piață. Well, I'm sorry, but I think an architect should also be an agent of transformation of life and of society, and not the slave of some capricious so-called beneficiary. And that's why we don't experiment enough, and we don't address such apparently useless themes like these people do. But I think they are in front of us, because they open new doors while we don't. And it's amazing to me that, pragmatic societies, very pragmatic societies like the one in the United States, has many people who devote themselves to addressing, functions of life which are not pragmatic at all. There Yeah, interesting works, and they deserve. I myself didn't pay enough attention to them, and I should study them more carefully. Echo of the disease, again, China. They say we all lose exactly 21 grams when we die. It's the weight of our soul. How much does our soul weigh? Interesting. And the drawings are evocative as well. Posthumous harvest from UK. As I said, I could send this PowerPoint presentation to anyone who wants to receive it, and then the text can.
Yes, why not? It's very interesting.
Yes, I could send it to you with pleasure. In fact, tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I guess it's some kind of agricultural cemetery, or you know, this.
I hope it's not the recycling of the dead bodies.
Oh, well, I hope so too.
Elon Musk and Bill Gates are two very successful.
Necropolis Reborn from New Zealand. Ah, I really long for such themes, teme de proiectare in the education in Romania, to stimulate the imagination of students, to stir them up. And Romania had a beautiful surrealism in poetry, in graphic arts, in painting. And I think there is a great mine of possibilities that I should not start with this because I'll never stop.
Yes, Romania had also the famed Sigma group in the 60s and 70s in Timișoara.
Yes.
Which now it's considered among the most important stuff like that in Central Eastern Europe. We actually encourage in our school experimental and non-conventional thinking, but I have to admit that that was not one of the main, themes, but it could be very challenging. Why not?
Yes, thank you. I agree. Okay.
Well, if in the autumn, when we choose the direction for the diploma units, maybe I should invite you in a Zoom session to make a presentation about the fascination of this dead team. Maybe we should, how to say, recruit some guys who will try to do that.
Thank you. We can talk about this.
Yes, we have time for that, and it could be a challenging subject.
I think so. I think so. Yes, thank you.
Why not?
Okay, that's it. I mean, I'm not going to show you nostalgia of Andrei Tarkovsky.
I have seen that 5 times or something.
Yes, a beautiful, beautiful film. Yes. So
okay.
I don't know if you are probably tired. I still have the presentation on Charles Eames.
I suppose we could leave that for another occasion. Maybe you have some other things with Eames and with the case study projects in the 50s in California. That was a very fascinating era.
Yes, it was. But I mean, today is his birthday, and but anyway, I wanted to do too many things. But if the others are not tired, I could show it to them in 15 minutes.
Well, 15 minutes, I will stay.
Thank you. So 15 minutes. Okay, we'll pay
Okay.
homage to Charles Sims. Yes, it will be just 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. So let me see, it's here. Okay. Charles Sims. So he was actually a designer, not an architect, but sometimes the frontier, so to speak, between design and architecture is not so stringent or so strong. Okay, slideshow from the beginning. So happy birthday, Charles. I think he benefited a lot from meeting his wife because after they got married, Charles and Ray, his work and their work became increasingly modern and in a way more sophisticated. So this is the man born in St. Louis, you know, a young, self-confident man, kind of muscular, it seems, or the shirt is so. He was quite a good designer, and I think he was a good architect, and you'll see why. This is a picture with his wife. They met at Cranbrook Art Academy, where they studied, and I think they got along very well. And it's truly an example of a couple that enjoy themselves together in art, in architecture, in design. I like this picture, being very young, probably students. She was full of life, and I think she had a very good impact on him. Now, this is a church he built by himself. Without her, he didn't get, he didn't marry her. He didn't know her probably at that time. 1934 in Arkansas. I like it though. It's not modern. It is modern to an extent, but it's not radically modern, and it's not
It's rather expressionistic.
It is expressionistic, and you wouldn't expect it in Arkansas. But
no.
Exactly. No, it's a good work. It shows the talent he had. Very much so. Even the inside is not bad.
No.
It's a small church, but it's good. I mean, he was not even 30 years old when he built this. And, the building has integrity in terms of how it was built, brickwork. It's a good work. And yes, you wouldn't express I mean, you think almost of Fritz Höger, you know, in Germany.
Yes, you will think of something from North Germany or something.
Yes,
you know,
yes. Yes, Hamburg or even, yeah.
Yes, Bremen, Hamburg, Lübeck, something like that.
Right, not in Arkansas.
No, never.
He built two churches, two Catholic churches in Arkansas in two different places. This one is a little more because of the arch, but anyway. And now a house he built also by himself. I mean, he was the architect alone. He also cooperated with Eero Saarinen and some.
But it's unbelievably close to what Miss van der Rohe did before the pavilion in Barcelona.
Right, right.
He had something with Germany, some influence, something. It's it's very Germanic sensibility until this moment. I didn't know this works.
Yeah. Yeah, because usually they just show the Eames house, but yes, and it's also true in the case of Mies, that his early works would surprise someone who only knows his later works.
Yes, but this works resembles to the houses Mies built in the late 20s
Yes.
In Germany. Hmm?
Yes, yes, yes. And look at this brick.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
No.
No, but it's beautiful, and it's a suggestion. We can use the brick to actually, you know, incite certain things.
You could actually sing this melody if you want.
Yes. Or maybe the brick itself sings them. I don't know, but it's
nice.
nice.
Beautiful, yes.
Yeah. It's a big house, though, as you can see.
But it's so un-American. I mean, it's kind of German, Nordic, something.
Yeah, and you see, there are not just musical notations, but also little bas relief.
Yes.
Very nice. Now, this is a house, again, done just by him, without Ray, without his future wife. Now, this is a project done together with Saarinen. And I didn't know until I prepared this material that he worked together with Saarinen.
And so something different.
Yes, very different, yes. I mean, this is closer to the Eames house that, you know.
Yeah, that we know,
yes.
yes. But it's strange how quickly was this passage from kind of Germanic brick things to this.
Yeah. It is a dramatic change. Very dramatic, in fact. Well, I have a picture, but I didn't analyze it, and it's hard to see what's going on here. He did a competition entry for this memorial. I won't insist on it. Then this is a modernist house that he built together with Ray. I think Ray had this modernistic influence on him, and because he changed after he met her. And this is the Eames house. That is so famous, and that's mainly because of this house that is considered a pioneer of modernity or modernism in the United States. It is a beautiful house, and it is very much alive today in these pictures as it was when it was built. And you see all kinds of influences. Now you see the influence of Asia, of Japan.
Yes, and of Neutra and stuff.
But the mid-century sensitivity is interesting. Here is a cartoon kind of, a cartoon. I don't know who drew it with this. There are actually two houses. It's a fine house, yes. It's well crafted. It is colorful. It's delicate.
It can be visited, I suppose, no?
I don't know. I didn't visit it, but well, if you are there, I see some visitors there. The trees are beautiful too. But so anyway, there are on the left is the work of man, on the right the work of nature or God. You know, Frank Lloyd Wright was asked, "Do you believe in God?" And he said, "I do, but I spell it nature." Anyway, and here they are, the lovers. The lovers, they loved each other, and it shows in their work. And I really think they complemented each other beautifully. I like him and I like her, and I like them what they did together. The last picture of the presentation is one with both of them, kind of funny, you'll see. As I said, I'll send even this to anyone who wants to receive it, the PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, it was a very nice. It was a very nice evening. Eros and Thanatos, love and death.
Right. Well, I didn't yet finish it, but I'll finish it in 5 minutes or 3 minutes. It's a fine building, really is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And it might appear to have a minimalist aesthetics, but it's beyond minimalism. Actually, it's joyous, it's colorful, it's playful. Yeah. And you'll see also a few designs of the furniture designs, which are also.
And I suppose it was quite cheap for that time because it's made of industrial parts.
The building, yes.
Yes.
Well, it was, I think, a case study house was,
Yes.
so, you know, it became the Eames house, but it was built for like an experiment. I would gladly live in this experiment, I confess.
A lot of, we have studied recently with my students a lot of these case study houses, and we have dig deeply into that, and most of them are magnificent and sophisticated. Uh, the first the first glimpse, they seem very simple, but if you analyze them, most of them, not only Eames, but there are a lot of architects which somehow get into this in this period. They produce magnificent projects and buildings. Unfortunately, it didn't left an imprint on American architecture. It was short-lived and unfortunately without consequences.
Yes. Well, you know, I mean, yeah, but this is the case. You know, we are talking because I made a presentation on Japanese architects, contemporary Japanese architects a few days ago. And there was an architect from Indonesia, actually German, and he lived and worked in Tokyo. He said, well, we have Fujimoto, we have Kazuyo Sejima, we have Ishigami, but these are exceptions. The majority of buildings that are built in Tokyo and other cities are ordinary. These are just exceptions. So this is perhaps true in almost all countries and all cultures. Anyway, this is, you see, case study house number 9, Entenza House in California, built in 1950. And here he cooperated with Eero Saarinen with his office. It's possible because Charles didn't have the right to build because he was a designer, not an architect. I don't know, but he got along well with Saarinen. It's, you know, another case study house, modernistic, like almost like a showroom house. Yeah.
Quite sophisticated with the stairs inside and
Yes.
various levels and the chimney, the colors. Very nice. The entrance. It was a very optimistic period.
Yes, it was.
Unlike ours.
Right. Now a showroom, I only have 2 or 3 pictures, kind of in the same spirit. I understood it was almost demolished, and then the community of architects and designers protested vehemently, so they saved it. But this is the original work. The bench is probably not his. The building is. Actually, it irritates me, that bench. I don't know why they don't get rid of it. Anyway, and now this is the last house I show in Michigan. Different and interesting, though. You know, it's.
It resembles a project by Loos in 1922. He tried to overlap exactly this kind of structures and have greenhouses in order to support people during the crisis and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a hybrid house, but it's interesting, and it also has you know, kind of an aesthetics relating to the Eames house that he did, and also, you know, there is something almost oriental about it.
Yes, it was a very strange guy. I mean, his evolution was very surprising, as we can see. from these
I think
pictures.
the role of his wife he was significant.
That space is very interesting, very strange, uh, very powerful in this kind of architecture.
Probably some students in architecture. So here again, there are two buildings connected by this canopy and passage. Now I don't have a picture of this. I searched for it. It's the last work that he did, a Time Life building lobby. It's a little small work. And then some furniture designs by them, both him, Charles, and his wife.
Yes, the famous.
Yes, very famous and probably equally comfortable. I don't know. This one is not so comfortable, but anyway, it's not meant to be comfortable. An interesting chair, though, a bent wood.
Very Scandinavian.
Yeah. Well, these are not maybe glorious, but another one by him. So fluidity of design was something that concerned him or them at a time when maybe not too many designs allow themselves to be fluid. I don't know about the piece on the right, if it's some kind of a sculpture by him, by them, I don't know.
That is a piece which remembers me the famous Friedrich Kiesler, you know. I don't know. It's very strange, his evolution, and from time to time there are similarities with German, Scandinavian, whatever work.
Yes. And I'm happy you mentioned Kiesler, you know, because
Yes, I'm fascinated by
in
Kiesler.
Bucharest, nobody mentions him except me.
In Bucharest, nobody knows about Kiesler.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. I wonder why. Anyway, while in Vienna, there is a Kiesler Foundation right near the cathedral, the St. Stephen Cathedral.
Yes, and they had 2 years ago at MAK a huge exhibition from Kiesler and stuff. And
yeah, and that exhibition was supposed to be exported to Bucharest because I talked to the director of the foundation and he told me so, but it didn't happen. They wanted to bring it to Bucharest and they didn't.
But it was huge. Where the heck did they imagine to put it in Bucharest? Because it was a huge exhibition. I don't know.
Yeah.
I travel frequently in Vienna because from Timișoara to Vienna you have 4-hour drives with a car, you know, and I spend a lot of weekends in Vienna. Of course, not in the last 3 months.
Right. Okay, so 2 more chairs by him, maybe not so glorious. And now we are approaching the last picture. In fact, after this one is the last picture. We saw this chair before. And this is the last picture with the couple in love, the Eames family. On the left, Charles, on the right, Ray. And that was it for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You are able to put together some very entertaining and stimulating evenings.
Thank you.
Well, I hope we should meet again if you will send me more invitations.
Yes, and in fact, I want to invite you, well, again, on the Sunday, it will be about the summer solstice, that on the 25th of June, it will be the birthday of Antoni Gaudi and Alvaro Siza on the same day. So we'll try to, and I invite participation. Anyone who wants to prepare something or to say something is welcome. And then on the 29th of June, I want to pay homage to a very interesting North American architect, and we'll have the chance to have with us a very important engineer, North American engineer, who was the assistant of John Johansson at Pratt Institute in New York. So this engineer I met almost accidentally through these Zoom meetings, and who presented 2 days ago very interesting material. He's a very accomplished engineer. He worked with Peter Rice on important projects. Well, he is also the assistant principal at ARUP in Los Angeles. So a very accomplished engineer, very open-minded and very kind. And I invited him already to talk about Johansson.
That will be in 25?
29th.
29. Let
Yes.
me put it into my agenda.
But
Well,
I will send you an invitation prior to that date. Now that I have your email address, we can communicate better.
yes. I would like very much in the due time to expose you to our students, so you could transmit them directly your emotional ideas. Why not?
Thank you. I met some of them because in the summer, 3 years in a row, I organized a so-called summer school in Vienna. And last year there were, I don't know, 20 students from Timișoara or something like this. And
very nice.
Yes, it was very nice. Well, I'm very happy that you participated today, and we'll meet again if you want.
Yes, of course. It's very entertaining and stimulating.
Thank you. Thank you. So, anyone else wants to say something, or we'll just say good night to each other? Please feel free to say anything if you feel like saying something. And I have to maybe stop the share. Okay. So who is here? We have, goodbye. Thank you for this.
Bye.
Hello, Anka.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I started participating very late, but it's always so interesting, and I'll try to follow all of your meetings.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, bye-bye.
Bye.
See you eventually in the Sunday. Okay, bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Please say hello to Le Corbusier from us, from me.
Yes, of course.
Okay, bye. So, who else wants to say something here?
Thank you for the presentation, Dan, so much.
You're welcome.
Good night.
And now, before you leave, please, if you want to prepare, not prepare, but to make a presentation yourself about anything having to do with India, but not necessarily just that, it's up to you. I think it's very important to create these gatherings where several or many people participate. So please consider the invitation.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Anyone else? Well, we did it. We celebrated the Taj Mahal. We celebrated the Eames family, and tomorrow is another day, and another night I won't sleep, and which cannot go on like this. I mean, because I don't know about tomorrow, but I'm sure if I begin to investigate certain things on the web, I discover who knows what, and I get excited, and then I spend all the night preparing PowerPoint presentations. But we had an interesting participation today. You know, was the Dean of the School of Architecture in Timișoara, who just left, Ioan Andreescu, an interesting and knowledgeable man. So I think that's good. Yesterday we also had interesting people, and next week we'll have a presentation from Indonesia, from the 2 architects who are quite accomplished and who taught at Delft University in the Netherlands, who worked for big companies like OMA or Meveredeve or West 8 or UN, very good architects, and they agreed to make a presentation about their own work in Indonesia. Interesting things can happen, and they can happen grassroots without an institutional umbrella. We just, if we are open to discussion and we are open, we have curiosity, and we are also a little bit rebellious, just like I mentioned yesterday, Peter Rice, this great engineer who worked for the Louvre, the IMP Louvre, and Opera in Sydney, and Lloyd's building in London. Renzo Piano said about him, he was rebellious and curious. If we are the very same way, curious and rebellious, we are young and we are childlike and we are creative. I'm convinced of it. We just need to have that curiosity of a child and also the rebelliousness of the child, who, when his parents turn their back on him, play with the matches and burn the house. Well, hopefully we are not going to burn the house, but I think it's very important to be playful, to be curious, and to be rebellious. Yes, because only in this way we can be free, you know, with the limits that are part of life. But anyway, enough is enough. Please allow me to try to sleep a little bit before some strange ideas come to me, because I really don't know. Maybe tomorrow is Joanna Vark's birthday, and I cannot leave Joanna Vark without a celebration. It's impossible. I pray to God it's not Joanna Vark's birthday tomorrow. Please cross your fingers or knock in wood that it is not, because otherwise I won't sleep. Anyway. Say something, Alina, because I see you, but you don't say anything. Please say something.
I want to say that for me it was very magic this day, because yesterday I began to write and work for my PhD courses, and I choose for the Mr. President course. I choose to make a parallel between Taj Mahal and modern architecture. And today you come with this offer, so I complete very much my my knowledge about Taj Mahal with a discussion for today, which I consider it was very interesting. And after this, about the funeral architecture, which is also a very deep subject, very deep. It moves me, and it is a subject to meditate how to approach this kind of architecture. And I was having in my mind an alchemical phrase. It is the one who is dying before he is dying, he never died. You know,
right.
I like very much this saying, because if we prepare our spirit for this, then we won't be surprised when it will happen.
By the way of this, maybe you know, in New York, they don't have any longer rooms in cemeteries for the many people who died because of the pandemic. So now they send many bodies to a collective hole in the ground on an island, which is close to Manhattan. And I already wrote the text for a competition to invite architects worldwide to create that so-called island of the dead into some kind of island of the living. Because if you do it in a certain way, like for example, it was done at the Taj Mahal, where you honor the dead through beauty, through sensitivity, through gentleness, through affection, you transform that place. And it's interesting that the name of the island is Heart, but not H-A-E-A-R-T, but H-A-R-T. So the E is missing, but playing with words, Heart, the name of the island, then Heart, meaning being wounded, H-U-R-T, and then
Yes.
heart, H-E-A-R-T, meaning the soul, the heart, inima.
Yes.
Yes, and I want to do it, but I don't have any. I mean, if this was done by an institution and with prizes and with, I cannot do this. But the text is written. I'll send it to you with pleasure, and it's related to what we just saw. And I'm glad that this professor and dean at Timișoara was here. I knew who he was, so that's why I pointed towards the educational system in Romania, which totally neglects spiritual matters, contemplative matters. How could this be? We are not just stomach well, there is here someone who is not Romanian, so I shouldn't engage in this kind of discussion. But anyway, but I believe it's true, not just where we are, but also in other parts of the world, that we neglect the contemplative side of things and of life, and that's a big loss. But we can recuperate some ground, I think, if we work in that direction.
Yes, I agree. To have this different approach, and maybe we can learn something from what it was done in the past. Because in the past, many times they put also this symbolic and spiritual meaning in the building. And the building was also a lesson from the spiritual point of view, like it was Taj Mahal. And even if you know what, it was very nice. Even if I read a lot these days about Taj Mahal, I read some books about, today I found out new things. This was as a surprise. You can say so many things about only one building. And as I said in the past, when you contemplate a building through the eyes of somebody else, or to listen other person speaking about the same subject, it is so astonishing, because other minds are finding other angles to approach this subject, and everything became so holistic. This I like very much.
Well, it is said that a good artwork or a good building, if they are truly good, you always rediscover them, and you never get tired of seeing a good work, because there is an infinite number of possibilities to be interpreted, perceived, and so, somebody said, if you get bored about a book, if you read it twice, it means the book is not good. If the book is good, you don't get bored, even though you read it several times. Like I tried with the Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. I read it maybe 3 times, and every time I read it, I felt as if I read it for the first time. Because it was not about the action, it was about the complexity of ideas. So it's the same with an artwork and a good building. You can look at the Taj Mahal tomorrow, or 1 week from today, and 1 month from now, and still enjoy it and discover other things. Yeah, this is the power of good art, and I include architecture here as well. So any of the 6 people who are still here besides me would like to suggest something for a possible subject for a future meeting, or even make a presentation. The way I guide myself is through these birthdays or so-called important dates, either in history. It's more like a pretext, really, but it's important, because if I do it on the birthday of Charles Eames, somehow I will always remember that we talked about Charles Eames on his birthday. Was not just capriciously chosen the date. And the same will happen with Gaudi. We'll do it on his birthday. And the same will happen with Alvaro Siza. We'll do it on his birthday. And the same will happen on the summer solstice. I will talk about the fire architecture and fire, and architecture and the spiral in architecture, and maybe even Le Corbusier and the sun on the summer solstice. And that's when it is supposed to be done. I think, I don't know. Anyway. Well, this time I recorded the gathering, the meeting. Yesterday I forgot to click on the button, and so it was not recorded. But today is still recording. I have to be careful what I say, because when you record, anyway. Ah, Bruce is here. Hello, Bruce.
Hi, Dan. Just checking back in.
Ah, we are still here, you know, loyal to the Zoom virtual platform. I was talking about you just some minutes ago when I mentioned John Johansson, and that we'll talk about him on the 29th of June, and that you worked with him for several years when you taught at Pratt, I think. I really hope, Bruce, you'll make some time. You know, it doesn't have to be a long time, but we would be very grateful if you could share some of your memories and experiences with John Johansson, because this architect is not so well known as he actually deserves, I think.
Yeah, Dan, I'll try to contribute. I don't have a lot to say. I didn't interact that much with John, but and it was a long time ago. But, I will share some thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll try to participate. What's the date?
Pardon?
What's the date of the?
29th. June 29th. And on June 25th, we'll talk about Antoni Gaudí and Alvaro Siza. And Sunday about the summer solstice. I don't know about tomorrow, but I hope there's nothing interesting going on tomorrow in history.
Yeah, you should get some rest, Dan.
Right, I cannot sleep. I don't know. I'm probably approaching the end. I don't sleep. I probably sleep 2 hours a day. It's not enough. And what is really alarming is that I'm not tired. Anyway.
Are you eating? I
am eating, yes, thank you.
And drinking?
Drinking just some tea, or what, I don't know how to call it. Yeah, thank you for asking.
Dan, can I access the recording and from Monday, and can I access the PowerPoint, the slide deck from yesterday?
Yes, I'll send them to you.
Okay, so do you have an archive and links to the meetings and schedules and things?
No,
I'm finding it a little difficult to keep up, but I like it. I don't have a big problem with it. There's some mystery behind all of this, which I think is provocative.
Well, because you have an open mind. Some people probably don't like this spontaneous organizing, so to speak. But the ideas come to me. For example, last night I didn't know what the subject of our meeting would be today. I just discovered, what I discovered about the Taj Mahal and Charles Eames, because you do not know, and I didn't mention in the invitational text, we also talked about Charles Eames because it's his birthday today. And Charles Eames was a very interesting designer and architect together with his wife, Ray. And so we'll see, but it could crystallize in time into some kind of calendar with profane saints, or with great architects or engineers or artists or people of culture. Today we had an interesting, surprising visit. Participant was a professor of poetry at Northwestern University in Evanston, Chicago. And it was very nice, because I think It was a surprise. I don't even know very well how he got the announcement, but and it was nice because you had architects and you had a poet or a professor of poetry and literature criticism, and I really think we can learn from each other. So Bruce, we welcome you again, and maybe you'll invite some of your friends that you invited Monday. Really, it was such a pleasure for me to see these probably brilliant engineers. Unfortunately, I do not know them, but they look like very interesting people and serious and sensitive and very interesting. I think they're actually more interesting than architects. Sorry to say it to the architects.
Yeah, let me share with you. I sent an email yesterday to all of the team that I worked with in London when we were working with Peter, and I got some really good responses. And I got a quote from Tristram Carfrae, who is our deputy chairman at Arab. He's the designer of the water cube in Beijing, of many of his projects. Like, that's probably one of the most well-known and outstanding. And he gives this quote from Peter. It says, "Tristram, it doesn't matter how clever your structure is. Nobody cares. But they will always remember how it made them feel."
Yes, feelings are very important. Yes. Yes. Yes, and I'm glad to be reminded of feelings by an engineer. That's excellent. Because unfortunately, architects often forget about emotions and feelings.
And then I need to sign off, but I listened to the beginning of the talk today, then I needed to go to some meetings, and you were mentioning about ornament and decoration, and I wanted to offer you my perspective on that. Is ornament can be integral to the design, and decoration is kind of like gingerbread, it's tacked on.
Right.
And a very interesting story, one of my colleagues, he actually spoke on Monday a bit, Pierre Alexander, a French engineer, wonderful engineer. He did the inverted glass pyramid with Peter at the Louvre. And he mentioned that they were doing some renovation work, maybe 20 years ago at the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris. Do you know this building? This, one of the original iron buildings, the beautiful domes in cast iron.
Yes.
And they found that they were doing the analysis, and they found that if they took out some of the decorative elements in the structure, it didn't work.
You mean the structure didn't work?
Yeah, the structure didn't work.
Beautiful.
And I think we see that a lot in Brunel's work, like Paddington Station and Saint what is it? Pancreas. Saint, what is that famous station in London? St. Pancras and King's Cross. We see that a lot in Paxton's in Brunel's work, that if you pull the ornament out, it doesn't work.
This is very beautiful.
And this was a time when engineers were master builders and they were designing with intuition. And I think the structural analysis in the computer has taken a lot of the poetry and ornamentation out of their work. And I really like your call for a new ornamental architecture or sculptural structures.
Yes, I invite you, and we'll all benefit if you could think further about this subject from your own perspective, because I think would be very beneficial. And maybe this could even evolve into some kind of published essay or article, or maybe even a book. Because the perspective of the engineer who understands that a structure all by itself could actually be problematic in the absence of the intuitive, the sensitive, in the end, the soul of the engineer, the soul of the one who conceives the structure, but who also has something to say about his own emotions and his own feelings. Anyway, this is a subject that deserves further further study, and maybe we can meet another day and just talk about this structure and ornament. In fact, I began to write an essay called, I paraphrasing Adolf Loos, who wrote Ornament and Crime, and I paraphrased his words with structure and crime, because when you have just structure without that intuitive side, without the sensitiveness of some detailing or what we call, maybe not quite appropriately, ornamental, you risk indeed to create a monster in a way. A structure without a soul it stands physically, but it doesn't stand psychically or psychologically, and that's a big problem. So let's address this subject in some other day, because now you know, people are probably tired. I mean, I could go on because I told you I don't sleep, but that's not the case with the other people. Or well, in Los Angeles is I don't know, 11 a.m. or 12 noon. 11 a.m. I imagine.
11. I didn't mean to hijack the conversation.
Pardon?
I didn't mean to take over the conversation.
No. Please hijack it.
I wanted to say hello to everyone.
No, you are very kind. Please hijack it, and we say hello to you, and we'll meet again soon. Soon meaning maybe even tomorrow.
Thank you very much for all. Wish you good evening, and see you soon.
Alina, thank you.
See you soon. Thank you.
Bye. So should we say hello to each other? There are 5 people left. Hello?
Yeah, Dan, is there a video? Do you have
Well, it's, I don't even know any longer what I'm, yeah, you are supposed to see the...
Well, that's okay, Dan, but I would be very interested to learn more about you.
Well, we'll talk. We'll have a meeting soon.
Okay, and I'll look for that link for Monday's presentation recording and Tuesday's.
Yeah, it was recorded, the Monday one, and I'll send you the PowerPoint presentations. The only problem is I don't yet know. I know it was recorded, it was converted. Now I have to find it because it has this, and there are many attempts at recording, and they have this abstract, but I'll find it and then I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I would love to be able to look through your archive as well and try
well, my archive is a total mess, but
yeah, but that's okay. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of treasure there. You don't need to see everything.
And by the way, Bruce, I loved your sketches that I saw on Monday. I think maybe you could even publish a book with those sketches. Just the sketches of an engineer who is sensitive and thinks in a way that is not just, you know, that calculative way. It's there is Dan,
I have thousands and thousands of sketches, and I would love if you could help me.
I didn't know that, but you should publish a book.
Okay, I need to go to another meeting, Dan, so let's catch up soon.
Okay. Thank you for stopping by.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, bye. So the 3 people here besides me have to know that the gentleman who just left is a brilliant engineer in Los Angeles. And he works for maybe the most important engineering firm in the world, Ove Arup. I don't know if I pronounce well this name. I have difficulties to pronounce this name, but it's a very famous engineering firm. They do some of the greatest buildings on the earth. And he has an important position in that firm. He's a kind man and a modest man. I really like him. And he worked with a genius in structures, Peter Rice, and he talked about Peter Rice on Monday and yesterday, because it was Peter Rice's birthday. we celebrated him with a discussion and presentation. I am moved by the fact that, you know, an engineer is interested to open up emotionally, and I think we can all learn from each other. So I suggest we go now, because I am tired, and I mean, I said I'm not tired, but I actually am. And maybe we'll meet again tomorrow, because I know what I'll do after we end this meeting. I'll search for other pretexts to do an interesting, you know, kind of event tomorrow. Although I should abstain, because Sunday will be the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere and the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere, and I want to celebrate it accordingly. Now, if you want to say something, I see here two people, one I do not know, iPhone XI, I don't know who the iPhone XI is, but it's okay, you can keep your anonymity. And Danielle you introduced yourself, but you are not a Danielle from what I gathered, if I was not wrong. And Radu, I know. Please turn on the microphones, otherwise we have to say goodbye to each other.
Hello, sir. Sorry for
Radu.
arriving so late, but unfortunately I have to study for the exams, and that's the problem. I got to hear what the engineer had to say for a few minutes, but unfortunately I couldn't be active. So if I can say from the beginning, I hope you can forgive me for that.
No, it's all right. You know, nobody expects to be present all the time, and I know you have exams now, so it's okay. You don't have to feel sorry or guilty even now. No. Plus, I can send you. I recorded this one, so I could send it to you, and you can watch it whenever you have time, if you want to.
That would be amazing. That would be really amazing.
Yeah, I could send it, and I could also send you, and I do it all the time, the PowerPoint presentations. So, you know, but the recording this time took place. Yesterday I forgot to click the button, but this one was recorded. So if
it happens.
Pardon?
It happens to forget to press a button.
No. The problem is I instructed the program to record, you know, by itself, but because our discussions do not start exactly at 6 our time or 3 p.m. GMT time, I posted, because I didn't want to record for 15 minutes, maybe, you know, casual discussion, and then I forgot to restart it. That was the problem. Maybe I should just let it do its job as long as it, you know, we are on Zoom.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I lost that very important meeting 2 weeks ago, where 250 people showed up.
Oh, a lot of people.
But not only 250 people, but very important architects like Stephen Hall and Wolf Prix from Vienna. They were present, and I forgot to click on the button, so it was not recorded. But fortunately, there was a student from Yash who recorded for about an hour, but
that's great.
Pardon?
That's great. At least we have an hour of recording, so
yeah. The only problem is she's not talking to me now, so I don't know if she will give me the recording. But it was recorded for about an hour, and but yes, 250 people showed on that Sunday. Can you believe it?
That's a lot of number. Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Right. And even Monday, there were about 50, 60 people. after I started the presentation, I didn't see them any longer and the counting, but they were around that number. So anyway, then it's not the number important. The important thing is that we establish our human bridges and we can know each other a little bit and cooperate. And this is what is important. That it happens with 5 people or 10 or 3 or 20 or 50 or 250. The truth is, even if you have 250, still the people who talk are still about the same.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, I will then take the decision to say good night to you and to thank you that you took part, and we'll meet again probably tomorrow, or if not tomorrow.
Most likely tomorrow, yeah.
Yes, most likely tomorrow. Yes. Okay, see you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for your presentation. Again, sorry for not being able to
It's okay,
participate in the
Radu. No, you
meeting.
have nothing to apologize. I'll send you the materials.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night. But there are still 2 people here who do not say anything.
Yeah, they are just online and on mute.
Yeah, what should I do? What do you suggest? Because I'm intimidated. I don't want to feel impolite and to be impolite to end the conversation when two people are still there, but they are not saying anything.
I don't know, sir. You're the host. You should decide what you.
Well,
what is
I am
best
the
for you.
host, but I'm not always inspired, so I don't know what to do. And, you know, it's like me going to sleep when there are still 2 guests in the house. You understand? It's not. It's
The
not
problem
nice.
the problem is if you wake up and they're still there, then that's strange.
Right. Or maybe they are not there any longer because, you know, some people leave the laptop on and they go have a walk, or I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, no, but I really feel strange now to close to shut off everything when 2 people are still there.
Yeah, and I said that a person's name is iPhone X11. I don't know. It's he or she couldn't just write their name.
Well, that, you know, doesn't bother me. It's just that there is no reaction. You know, someone is just listening to what we say, but anyway, maybe he's not listening. But it is a strange feeling, you know.
Yeah,
I
also have Maria here with me.
You
if
do?
she wants to say hi.
Well,
Hi, Maria.
Hi.
Can I see you? Because I don't even know how you look like. Do you have a webcam?
Yes,
Oh,
I can open it if you want.
okay.
Okay, I'll open it. One
I mean, you
second.
know, you don't have to. Hello. No, because I didn't know who you are. Now, I think I remember you kind of, but I'm not sure. Because
We
but
see each other, you know.
You are both handsome, and I'm glad I saw you. Now, if I see you, you know, on the street or in the school, if it opens, I'll remember. I'm happy that we are collaborators, so to speak. You are very kind, really, to offer to publish those announcements, because I still cannot do it. I don't know. I tried. I really tried. I even opened a Facebook, you know, page, but it intimidates me. So many things go on there. Really, for you is very, you know, a very common thing, but for me is I'm allergic to it, actually.
Well, you know, it's strange because it comes naturally to us to use Facebook or in the internet, maybe because we are used to it from a young age. I don't know.
Right. I don't have problems with other forms of technology. I also don't like its founder. I don't like Mr. Zuckerberg at all. And,
yeah, he's kind of strange. I don't know why he's.
But I shouldn't. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And it's because of it that I'm crippled. You know, if I don't use Facebook, I'm considered some kind of dinosaur, some kind of monster myself, even more than Mr. Zuckerberg. I call him Sugar Mountain because that's the translation. The Mr. Sugar Mountain. Anyway, I'm also envious, of course, of his unacceptable success. So you are students in the third year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because again, I don't know why anyone I don't know I place in the first year.
I also feel like in the first year because the time just went fast, really fast.
No, I know many students, but I didn't know you. In what atelier are you studying?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
In what studio are you students?
48, yes, with Mr. Dan Marin.
Ah, with Dan Marin. Then you have an assistant I'm friends with, Andrei Teacă.
Yes, we know him. He's the son of the famous architect, right? Radu Teacă.
Yes, his father is Radu Teacă, yes.
I'm a big fan of his work. I don't know why, I just like his work. I really don't know why.
Yeah, his son is a doctoral student, and I also give lectures at the doctoral student, so that's how I met him. And I like him. We became friends. So yeah, he's your assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you don't have troubles with him, because I see your face
No.
a little bit. Anyway. You don't have to tell me, but
no, we had a really good collaboration with Mr. Dan Marin. It is very strange because my mother is also an engineer, and she worked with him, I don't know, in the 1993 or 4, I don't know, way before I was born, and just the luck, I don't know, just brought us together, so let's say.
Yeah.
And he also was the architect for my house where I live in Bucharest, because now I'm not in Bucharest. Because of the quarantine, I just left Bucharest with Maria.
Where are you, by the way?
Countryside. In Cornu, it's near Câmpina, where Năstase had a few homes here.
Just a few? Okay.
Just a few, I don't know. And also Ponta and a few other, I don't know.
It must be nice there, if they made
It's nice. It's quiet. That's the problem. I mean, that's not the problem, but that's what we are looking for. A little bit of quiet, and we stayed here for about 4 months, and now we cannot turn back to Bucharest, to the chaos of Bucharest.
Right. I am trapped in the building that belongs to the school where the Erasmus students live, but they left now. There is a strange Italian upstairs who exercises his voice during the night, and then most of them left, but there are a few still in the building. The school gave me the chance to enjoy this old building, and that's where I'm trapped. Also for 4 months. I didn't leave it at all for 4 months. So,
well, you know
so I agitate people with Zoom meetings, as you know. and now I involve you too in my madness. That because you. By the way, how long does it take you to publish this?
To be honest, under a minute.
That's it?
Yeah.
No, it sounds surreal. I mean, how I don't understand. How could you do it so quickly? Could you tutor me?
I don't know.
I don't understand. I don't understand how it could be so simple.
I don't know. It's just simple. I really don't know what should be the best answer to tell you. It takes longer to open my laptop than to post the event on Facebook.
Yeah. Anyway, so you shouldn't worry, because I'll keep you busy every day. I will keep my word. I will build a library for you. I love to give books, and I have too many books. of art, of architecture. I'm surrounded by towers of books. I don't have a library. They are just here in my room, towers 1.5 meters tall or 2 meters, a book above another book above another book. So
your bookshelf is made of books.
yeah, the books became shelves.
Yeah.
In a way, yes. So on what are you have the exams now? The atelier is ended now?
Yes, the atelier is ended and we are waiting for the
exams.
The exams, yeah.
Right. And the school will end when? At the beginning of July, no?
Yeah, I have my last exam on 7th of July, and Maria has another one after me on the 8th of July, and then that's it. Vacation, finally.
Right. Too bad this year we'll not go to Vienna as we did the previous 3 years. I would have gladly invited you, but next year we'll probably go. And if you do not know Vienna, I strongly suggest you don't neglect it, because it's an unbelievable city for architecture. And next year there will also be the biennial in architecture and design and art in 2003. 2000, what am I saying? 2021.
Yeah.
I don't even know any longer what year we are in, what day of the week is, what name is my name is, but that's good because I hate my name. No, I do. It has too many curves, and I don't have that spirit. I am not. Anyway. We'll talk some other day. I'm happy that I saw you now, and now I know who you are visually at least, and we'll keep in touch. You'll receive a new announcement in a few hours.
Thank you so much, and then I post it in under a minute.
Okay, in under a minute. Excellent. Okay, we'll end our conversation. Bye,
Okay,
Maria. Nice to meet you. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Have a great evening.
Enjoy the vicinity of great residences around you.
Thank
okay,
you so much.
see you. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Now I'm left with iPhone XI, but who is iPhone XI? I'm actually curious. What should I do? By the way, I cannot. I don't know what to do.
Ah.